With this Pinball Wizard guitar lesson, we'll show you how to play the complete song on acoustic guitar. Guitar tabs, chord diagrams, and an accompanying guitar karaoke practice video. We'll cover all the step-by-step approach. The intro is an 8-chord sequence, and we're going to start with the first 4 chords. And the first chord will be a B minor / F sharp chord. You're just going to play the top 4 strings like so. And as far as going about learning the intro, we're going to focus more on the chord shapes as opposed to the chord names. There's some complex chord names used for the intro, and we're going to show you in a second. It's just much easier to focus on the chord shapes to get the intro down. And here's what I mean. From that first chord, the second chord, you just lift your first finger off that first string. And we're going to do a 1 strum to get warmed up. Chord number 1, then lift the first finger, chord number 2. For the third chord, we take our first finger and it shifts down to the 2 string, 2nd string, 2nd fret. We're going to lift the middle 2nd finger. Again, just the top 4 strings, and that's chord number 3. One note, the pinky finger and the 3rd finger, they remain anchored on those middle 2 strings for the first 3 chords. Let's strum through those first 3 chords. 1 strum approach, chord number 1, then lift the first finger, then shift and lift, and then for the 4th chord, we put the middle finger down on the 3rd string, 3rd fret, and lift the pinky finger. This is an F sharp chord. I look at it as the fingers forming a sort of a diagonal line. If you went down a string at a time, 2nd string, 2nd fret, 3rd string, 3rd fret, 4th string, 4th fret. And with that F sharp chord again, just the top 4 strings, and the 3rd finger remains anchored on that 4th string, 4th fret for all 4 chords. So let's do it from the beginning. We'll do a 1 strum approach again with those first 4 chords. Run through one more time. And now we'll focus on the strum pattern. We'll go back to the beginning, the first chord. And the key to the strum pattern to start the intro is to count each measure or each chord change with an 8 count. What I mean by an 8 count is the initial strum that we just did will be the 1 count. So we'll play the 4 strings, 1, and then we go to the bass note and complete the 8 count by just playing that single bass note. So back to the beginning, it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. A couple notes on this. Number 1, make sure the top 3 strings ring or sustain while you play the bass note. You don't want to mute them. And second, what helps keep the strumming hand steady in position, if you rest your 3rd and pinky finger on the pickguard, some of you might prefer that, again, to keep the strumming hand steady in position. But let's go back to that chord and do that strum pattern a couple more times. 1, 2, ready, go. And one more. With that, we play the same strum pattern for the other chords. We've covered 4 chords so far. So let's apply the strum pattern to that first 4 chord sequence. Here we go from the top. 1, 2, ready, go. And we'll do that one more time, a little bit faster this time. 1, 2, ready, go. we go into section 5. And the chord shape for section 5, I've seen several different ways to play it. We'll cover a couple. So from this last chord we played, the F sharp, the one finger will shift down to the third string, still along the second fret, and then we lift the middle finger. So this chord shape, it's only two fingers, but what we're going to also do with the first finger is that it's going to partially lean a little bit on the two string because we're going to mute the two string. We're also going to play the top string. The top string sounds, if you listen closely to the original recording, the one string is ringing, but you may not hear the second string so much, and so that's why some of these versions show to mute it. So this is option number 1. You strum all 4, but the second string is muted. Now the option, the plan B on this chord is to simply play that second string open. It's actually easier if you don't worry about the muting. And there's a difference in tone, but I don't think it's a major difference. So if you're more comfortable with this, by all means try it, but let's do that comparison one more time. And then from there we go to section 6, which is pretty easy. You just lift the one finger. So there's only one finger down. It's that third finger still on the 4th string, 4th fret. And if we put those two sections together, backing it up to section 5, let's apply that strum pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And now let's back it up a little bit more to the beginning. We now have a 6-chord progression or sequence. Let's apply the strum pattern to that. So from the top, 1, 2, ready, go. That one more time. Maybe I'll speed it up just a little bit. 1, 2, ready, go. From here we go to section 7, and for the first time in the song, the third finger will shift up from the 4th fret to the 5th fret on that 4th string, and then the middle finger goes down on the 3rd string, 4th fret. So as we move up the strings, the bass note, the 4th string, 5, then 4, 4th fret, and then the 2nd string open. That's the chord shape for section 7. And that initial strum, the 1 count, will be 3 strings. And then we still maintain the 8 count, but as the song starts to build momentum, we're going to thicken things up a bit. And what I mean by that, instead of playing just a single 4th string for the bass note, we're going to strum both middle strings together to complete the 8 count. So here's how section 7 will sound. We'll start with the strum. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for section 8, we're going to shift back down, actually to the F sharp chord we played earlier, that diagonal line shape chord I mentioned. But in addition to that, we're going to curve the thumb over. You'll see it's curved along the 2nd fret. The objective, if you can, is to actually fret that bass note, which is the 6th string, 2nd fret, with the thumb. It's not open. You're actually fretting it with the thumb. For a lot of you, that will be a challenge. So at this point of the lesson, you don't have to do that. If it's too difficult, at least try to have your thumb sort of hang around and at least mute that bottom string. We don't want it sounding or ringing open as we're strumming. Now we're going to apply a different strum pattern. We abandoned the 8 count for section 8, and the suggested strum for section 8 will be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Let me do that again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now if we apply down and up strums, it would be down, 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 up, up, down, down. And then we're going to repeat that strum pattern. It's played twice. The only difference is the second time we play the strum pattern, we're going to release on that last chord. So let me show you how section 8 sounds on its own. Down, 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 up, up, down, 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 up, down, off. It's easier to do it faster. So as we do it again, I'm going to play at a slightly faster tempo. 1, 2, ready, go. Piece that together with section 7, so sliding up to that 5th fret, and we'll put together sections 7 and 8. 1, 2, ready, go. With that, we're ready to review the complete intro, and we'll do that in the next clip where we'll go through all 8 measures with a slow approach. For verse 1, we take that same chord we focused on for section 8 of the intro, the F sharp chord, and we slide it up to the 7th fret position. We also take the pinky finger from this chord shape. We take the pinky finger, the 4th finger, and place it down on the 3rd string, 9th fret. Also the thumb, just like we did for F sharp in the intro, that's going to be curved over on the bottom string if you can. If you can get that bottom string 7th fret to sound with the thumb, great, you're providing your own bass line. If not, at least mute that 6th string. And also the 5th string will be muted, and you can do that by the 3rd finger sort of leaning a little bit from the 4th string. Also the thumb can curl over, but try to get that 5th string not to sound. So ideally, you got the 6th string, nothing from the 5th, and that's the initial B sus4 chord to start verse 1. Verse 1 can be divided into 3 sections, and section 1 we're just going to go back and forth between B sus4 and then lifting the pinky to B. And with that we'll do the strum pattern, and this is probably the trickiest part of the lesson. It's played very fast in the original recording. Do we care if it's exactly like Pete Townsend? We want to get close, but a lot of times with a high energy rhythm, the key is to come close, but put your own energy into it, play it with a steady tempo. If you're a few micro strums off, it's no big deal. But here's a suggested way to fall into the strum. We're going to start with the B sus4, but let's release that pressure now and just take the fingers and rest them on the strings, because we're going to focus on the strumming hand. The suggested strum pattern is going to be down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, down. We'll do that again. Down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, down, down. Of course, that's going to be a little bit faster. And you're going to maintain that for each chord change. Now, another note, if you listen close to the original recording, if we focus on the melody strings, what I hear is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and then the switch 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So we got to combine that sort of tempo with the strum. And here's how I think, or a good way I think to fall into it. Here's how it'll sound if we put the 2 together. Down, 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 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. one more time. The verse section, section 1 of verse 1, we're going to do that transition 4 consecutive times. So let's get acclimated to the strum pattern and do that. 1, 2, ready, go. Now, in addition to that, on the original recording, again, we're sort of building momentum, right? That 8 count, we've abandoned that. We're sort of strumming away. Also, an electric guitar comes into the picture, an overdubbed electric guitar. Now, of course, this lesson is geared for acoustic guitar for a one-person performance, but you might be a little curious on that overdubbed electric guitar, and it's just a single note. Da-dum. Sliding from A to B, when it hits the B, that's coinciding with the initial B down strum. If you're playing with another guitarist acoustically, I mean, that sounds fine with the one string, but I like to thicken things up. I actually like to play a power chord on B, but I let go of the third finger. Da-da-dum, da-da-dum. I like the way that sounds over the chords, but yeah, in the original recording, it's an electric guitar with just a single note riff. But that will be how we play section 1 of the verse. For section 2 of the verse, we're still going to be on that B sus4 chord, but section 2 is when the vocals begin. So it's a good idea if we break it up into sections to now focus on syncing the lyrics to the chord changes as well. But speaking of the chord changes, let's go through those first. So the middle section will start with B sus4 to B, and then we're going to go down 2 frets, same chord transition, except now it's A sus4 to A, then down another 2 frets to G sus4 and G, and then down 1 fret, not a sus chord this time, just the F sharp chord. And there's going to be a variation on the strum pattern here. The strum pattern will be the same as we did for the opening of the verse, except for the F sharp chord. So let's show you the variation on this strum pattern before we put it all together. For that F sharp, it's going to start the same. Dun, dun, dun. I like to do that. Again, this is for an unaccompanied acoustic performance. We don't have drums and bass like on the original recording. So I like to do a little extra strum just to fill in that sort of silent gap before we go to the next section. One more time on that F sharp. Dun, 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 dun. Another point before we get into playing the whole thing is to focus on what syllables to land on. Ever since I was a young boy, that since will sync up with that first down strum. Ever since I was a young boy, I've played the silver ball. From Soho down to Brighton, I must have played them all. Ain't seen nothing like him in any amusement hall. A deaf, dumb, and blind kid. And there's that little extra you can throw in before we go into the next section. So let's review section 2 now. We'll kind of do the same thing, maybe a little bit faster. And the key is look at the lyrics on the screen. If you're going to sing along, try to do that, but at least get an idea of how the lyrics sync with the chord changes. 1, 2, ready, go. Now as we go into section 3, we're going to stay along that same 2nd fret position, but we're going to shift to a power chord shape. Section 3 of the verse, if you listen to the original recording, that's when the song starts to rock out a little bit. That's when the electric guitars take over for the acoustics. For this acoustic version, we got to sort of emulate that power chord sound. And we are going to use a power chord shape. A lot of people play power chords with the with 3 fingers like so. This is a B power chord, but I like to take the 3rd finger and lean it. They're both going to be legit, and let's walk through the chord changes for section 3, and then we'll do the strum pattern. We've got a B power chord, then we're going to shift to an A power chord, and how you do that is just keep that 1st finger aligned along the 2nd fret. The most important note to sound will be the bass note, the 5th string 2nd fret for B, and the 5th string open for A. And then D, however, we're not really going to strum that top string for D. We're going to just aim for the 4, 3, and 2 strings. So that is that the sound is essentially a D power chord when we just play the 3 strings, and then an E. And how we strum section 3 of the verse, it'll be 2 B's, 1, 2, and then another 2 count, but it'll just be 1A, 1D, A, D, or 1, 2. Backing it up to B, 1, dun, dun, and then dun, and that's it on the original recording. But for an unaccompanied acoustic performance, we want to sort of fill that in. So I maintain a strum up after doing those 2 E's. And this progression is played twice. Section 3 is played twice. So let's do that right now. 1, 2, ready, go. In the next clip, we'll put all 3 sections of verse 1 together, and a quick review of the arrangement for verse 1. It'll be the B sus4 to B transition. That's played 4 consecutive times. Section 2 is when the vocals kick in. We stay on B sus4 and B for 1 measure, then the A section, the G section, and the F sharp section, all syncing up with the lyrics. And then section 3 is the power chord section. And so we'll review all that together in the next clip at a slightly slower tempo. For verse 2, guitar-wise, it's pretty much the same as verse 1, except we will delete section 1, those 4 measures of going back and forth between B sus4 and B. We go right into the lyrics for verse 2. And since the lyrics are different, it's a good idea to work on syncing those lyrics with the chord changes. So in the next clip, we'll review verse 2. Again, guitar-wise, it'll just be sections 2 and 3 combined, and we'll go through it with a slower tempo approach. For the chorus, we have 2 options on how to play it guitar-wise. The opening chords are E, F sharp, and B. And option 1 is to follow the original recording more closely, and that would be using power chords. So an E power chord, F sharp power chord, B power chord. Or we can make some adjustments and apply major chords instead that work better for an acoustic performance. And we're going to cover both. We'll start with the power chords. Starting with the chord shapes, we have an open E, then an F sharp power chord, and then shifting over along that second fret to B. Again, I like to use the third finger. If you use your third and pinky, that's fine. E, F sharp, B. Now, if we substitute major chords, that would be E major, and then what I would refer to as a middle F sharp bar chord. It's really not a bar chord. We're muting that bottom string and playing just those middle four strings. And if you compare this F sharp to the F sharp power chord, there's a difference. Same with the E. And then finally, instead of a B power chord, to make that major, you just lean that third finger so you sound the 2 string. And that's going to be tricky if you're playing fast. But if you include that, that's a B major chord voicing compared to a B power chord. Probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with the acoustic suggestion, the acoustic chord voicings. And we'll apply that next now to the strum pattern. And the key to the strum pattern for the chorus is locking in with the syllables of the lyrics. And here's what I mean. The opening lyric, he's a pinball wizard. Locking up with those syllables, we start with a down up down on the E major, and that syncs up with he's a, and then the first syllable of pinball, he's a pin. He's a pin, and then ball. He's a pin, ball. Ball is that F sharp chord. Wizard, double B. He's a pin, ball, wizard. We'll do that one more time. He's a pin, ball, wizard. And again, this is just a suggested strum pattern. You may make some alterations on your own once you get more comfortable playing it. But as we go to the next line, there has to be a twist, or there's got to be a twist. I forget right now, but you get the idea. There has to be a twist. Slight little strum, just open strings. There has to, I'm sorry, let me back it up. There has to be a twist. There has to be, whoop, there has to be a twist. Let's back it up to the beginning of the chorus and put it together. Slow walk through. 1, 2, ready. He's a pinball wizard. There has to be a twist. A pinball wizard Scott. Now I happen to let go. You got to keep the rhythm going. Pinball wizard Scott. It's like a passing chord. Again, this is my approach. Wizard Scott. Very light. And then we're going to go, we brighten things up with a G chord voicing. And with this G, we have the third finger down on the second string, 3rd fret. Such a supple wrist. And then we suss it up. And what I mean by that is that pinky finger is going to raise the top string from the 2nd to the 3rd fret. Exact way you have to play that. This is just a suggested way for a one-person version. Again, on the original recording, you got several instruments playing on this part. Let's back it up to the open G with the such a supple wrist. Such a supple wrist. And one more time. One note on that, I'm not sure if I did it, but you want to do this. Keep that 3rd finger anchored from G to D. Makes it a little bit easier. So backing up to the beginning of the chorus. He's a pinball wizard. There has to be a twist. A pinball wizard's got such a supple wrist. After the first chorus, we go into the bridge section. We'll be on the same D chord that ended the first chorus, and The bridge section is pretty much a 3-chord progression starting with D, and then we go to a C sus2 chord shape. And the trick to that transition here, from D, keep your 3rd finger anchored and just reach the middle 2nd finger down to the 5th string 2nd fret. So the C sus2 is you're only using 2 fingers for that one. And then we drop down to a G/B chord shape, and that's just a matter of lowering the bass note from C sus2. Lift the middle finger, and the 1st finger frets the 2nd fret of the 5th string. C sus2, G/B, and then we're going to sort of let go of that and go back to D. I'll show you how that sounds. Again, on the original recording, the rhythm guitar is sort of buried in the mix with the other instruments. So this is a suggested way to play it for an acoustic performance, and here's how we're going to do it. How do you think he does it? What makes him so good? So it's kind of a rolling bass line there. Again, this is pretty close to the original recording. The key is landing certain lyrics on certain chords. How do you think he does it? What makes him so good? After the bridge, we go into verse 3, and verse 3, guitar-wise, will be played the same as verse 2. We just have different lyrics. So again, to get acclimated to syncing those lyrics with verse 3, in the next clip, we'll do a slow walkthrough with the verse 3 lyrics. The second chorus, it'll be played the same as the first chorus, guitar-wise. We just have different lyrics. So the next clip, we'll review the second chorus with the lyrics, and to sort of set you up to lead into it, we will play section 3 of the verse. We'll play that 2 times to sort of lead in, and then you can focus on syncing the lyrics to the second chorus with the chords. For verse 4, which is the final verse, we change keys in the middle of the song, and that's a songwriting technique called modulation. And so instead of starting with B, we're going to move up 3 frets to D, and depending on your acoustic guitar, that's going to be a little bit tricky to get a clear sound up here along the 10th fret position. But the arrangement for verse 4 is similar to verse 1. The only difference is everything's 3 frets higher. So if you recall, we start section 1 with 4 measures of going back between the sus chord and the major chord. So from D sus4 to D, that'll be 4 times, and 4 consecutive times. Then section 2, the vocals kick in, stay on D for another measure, D sus4 I should say, to D. And then we just move down 2 frets, just like we did in the verse. This time it'll be from D to C. In fact, let's strum it a little bit. We've already gone through this, but let's apply it with the D sound. So starting with the section 2 where the lyrics begin, then shift down 2 frets, Shift down another 2 frets. This would be a B flat sus4, B flat major. And then we go down 1 fret to A. Again, that slight variation. And then when we go into section 3 of the previous verses, it was sort of a power chord section, but again we modulate. It won't be B, we're going to go to an open D. And it's not a complete section 3 like we did in the previous ones. It's only 3 chords. Here's how it's going to sound. Dun, 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 dun. And what that is, it's D major, C major, 1 strum, and then an F. And again, for an acoustic arrangement, I like to, instead of a power chord, I actually like to make it a major chord. Let's play that again. And then that leads into the song's ending, the coda. On the original recording, there's a fade out where we go to a B flat major chord. So again, I'm going to back it up to set us up properly. And our first finger still along that 2nd fret position. We go to a power chord shape. And there is a fade out here rhythm-wise. What I like to do for an unaccompanied, like a live performance, whatever, is I'll play 8 measures of this chord like so. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then on 8, got a little sloppy on that 7th measure, but you get the idea. And then just do a sustained strum on that 8th measure. And there is also a solo guitar play on that. We'll cover that in a couple clips from now. But what we'll do in the next clip, we'll do a slow walkthrough of verse 4 combined with the song's coda. A couple extra notes regarding the song's coda. In the previous clip, we mentioned to play, actually mentioned both a B flat major or a B flat power chord. A B flat major would be that power chord, just extending the 3rd finger, an extra string, or just using a power chord approach. Pretty much the same thing. I've also seen versions with a B flat 7th chord shape. The rhythm guitar is sort of buried in the mix on the original recording. So there's 3 options regarding the rhythm, but regarding the solo, there's some minor guitar riffs played. What I mean by minor is not really a big time melody or anything like that. But what I wanted to point out, it's in the key of B flat major. So even though this is a 1-person arrangement, if you're a little bit curious about those riffs, they are played in the key of B flat major. And instead of showing you the exact riffs, because they're sort of buried in the mix, there's a box pattern. For those of you who know how to solo a little bit, you can sort of meander around and play a little melody as a 2nd guitar part over the rhythm chords for the coda. Once you have each section down, the final step is to put together a complete arrangement or performance of the song. And you can do that with my Pinball Wizard Guitar Karaoke practice video. And with that practice video, you can either sing along with Pinball Wizard Karaoke, play guitar with Pinball Wizard Karaoke, or do both.